We do two different giant charity events yearly. So I do one called MARSOC, which is Marine Special Operations Command, and I do another one. If you guys have ever seen American Sniper, the movie, Mama Lee is the woman who runs this foundation. It's called America's Mighty Warriors. Her son Mark Lee is the first of the snipers to actually get killed in the movie. He's the one that's got the belt fed laying it down on the rooftops trying for his guys to get off. So we do a bunch of different events, a lot of them smaller ones, different donations and charities most people will never know about because we don't really make it public. But the two big ones, we usually do about 100 grand or more each year. They've gotten big enough. We put them in the parking lot. It looks like a carnival and auctions. It's a lot of fun. So as far as the ranges go, you guys get to see we have 24 lanes. And then we have another 8 that is in that area called Titanium. So 32 lanes. So they're all reach out to 25 yards. We shoot anything at the club up to, well, realistically up to rifle wise 3.3 at the pool. We can shoot 50s. We choose not to. We will shoot up to 50 on a handgun. We've got about 100, and currently I think we've got about 150 handgun rentals, and I think we've got about 25 rifle rentals, and we've got 40 some odd machine gun rentals. So we are that place that most people who are not from Arizona come to go shoot things that they will never see in the areas that they're at. I mean, me being a New Yorker, I was lucky enough, like I said, to grow up in a police family, so I was shooting at a small age. But I still have friends that come visit. When I whip out a Tommy gun, the world just stops. They're like, what am I witnessing here? You know, so those people that come here from a lot of the areas that people migrate from, you know, your Chicago's and your Cali's and Canada's and New York's, that's just not an option, right? So we get to live in the Wild West in a way, so that everything is, as long as you obviously follow the guidelines and keep everything very safe, and we can shoot outdoors, we can shoot indoors. We're blessed in that regard. As firearm community, there's no better place to live than Arizona. That's true. So at retail, we sell everything from your normal stuff like Glocks up to, we don't special order it, we don't work order it, we carry it from Barrett's, Wilson's, Nighthawks, McMillan rifles. We carry the stuff. We don't actually work order it. It's our client base. It's who we are. And like I said, we deal with everybody from, like I always make them, when we hire people, I tell them, we help everybody from the construction worker who squirrels $2 grand away to buy his first nice Noveske rifle and hides it from his wife so he doesn't get a beating, all the way up to Bob Carson's homes have to live civilized world here in Arizona. So, and everything in between. So customer service for us is ridiculously paramount. It's who we are. It's what we are. It's why we live, for what we do. Like I said before, we are like Cheers. People know each other's names in there. It's an interesting place because my wife loves to remind me that I don't seem to have any normal friends anymore. All my friends are either baseball players, athletes, so it's one of those places where you meet people that you would never meet before. You make bonds. You make a lot of friends. We do a lot of events based around our members. Obviously COVID slowed a lot of stuff down, but thank God now that we're coming out of it and we're able to actually do things again that we miss doing. So we would do everything from like those cosmic type shoots, overnights to nights with sun spans. Hopefully they win tonight. Everybody cross their fingers. I've been waiting since a little kid for this. My grandparents lived out here when I was about 4 years old, so it's the first thing I knew for basketball. So I've lived through the drug scandals of the Phoenix Suns all the way up to all the heartbreak. So I thought we were up 2-0. Now it's not the case. But anybody got any questions so far? I know I'm up here rambling. So
they do shotguns as well.
We do everything. So there's nothing. That's one thing I didn't touch. That's kind of triggered my mind. So we do shotguns. Obviously, you can shoot buck or slug. Can't shoot bird just because it's an indoor range. We have about 30. We're up to about 35 classes. I'd say we do now. We do private instruction as well. But every class you could possibly fathom, from out external classes, obviously like CCW classes and trauma classes that would guide two firefighters to do something called Dark Angel, one of the greatest classes I've ever seen. And then we have everything from your NRA and USCCA style classes to basic pistol, basic shotgun, you name it. So we try to be really encompassing in what we teach, really encompassing in what we allow to be shot at the range. Ammo has been one of the worst things that people have seen since when the pandemic broke out. It's starting to stabilize finally. Thank God. Prices are coming back down. We pretty much now have everything in stock almost all the time. I never thought in my lifetime, I tell you, that I'd see $1,000 case at 9 mil, but I saw it, and I saw people getting it, and it was the craziest thing that I had personally seen in the gun world. But things are coming back down to earth now, and it's more reasonable. And for those who shoot regularly, it's time for us to get back to shooting. Because I'll be the first to say I wasn't paying that amount, so I tempered down how much I shot to usually like a couple times a month, keep efficient, stuff like that. But I love shooting, so usually on a regular basis, even at the club. Usually they say when you work somewhere, it's usually the last thing you kind of want to do. I own a lot of firearms, not as much as I'd like, more than my wife likes. So, but I'm getting back to shooting at least once twice a week. So for me, that's important.
Yeah.
The membership base, so many new shooters. It was interesting to watch how everything played out because it was a perfect storm. So you had everything from primers were the reason for initially the reason for ammo being in a shortage. There was a lack of primers. Then you factor in COVID, you factor in riots and lootings, you factor in political events, and it just becomes the ultimate perfect storm with every country buying huge quantities and just making it a supply and demand issue, right? And just it was crazy with everything going on to see how many people who had never picked up a firearm before and honestly were anti-firearm. They were the person who would tell you that if you were a firearm owner, you were the devil, coming in with everything going on and all the fears and different things and coming in and buying a firearm for the first time, and give them credit where credit is due. They actually took lessons in most cases that I saw and became really fighting, firearm people. It's interesting to see. I have one person that comes in every day. It's a young lady, and she is a Democrat. Okay? And she tells me all the time, I still believe in the Democratic way, but nobody's taking my firearms.
Well, she doesn't believe it.
Well, she doesn't. But when I say it's an interesting thing to see that happen when it changes a lot of people's thoughts and perceptions of the firearm world and the industry, and they start to open their eyes that this is also a sport. It's a way to defend yourself. It's a stress relief. It's a hobby. It's a community. And I think a lot of people got to see that for the first time, and hopefully that helps us a lot in terms of not just legislation in the future, but in terms of getting new shooters, in the world and responsible and owning a firearm. Unfortunately, we get to see that good and bad. Too many times I see people buy a gun and then they never come in to shoot. They never practice, never take a lesson, never take the steel class. They don't do any of that stuff. It just goes in a drawer somewhere. And hopefully, if they ever had to use it, they can figure it out. Or hopefully it doesn't affect somebody else negatively because of it. So seeing that open a training market was huge for us. And it still remains that way.
So could you go through the memberships again?
So we do 3 standard memberships. Well, 4 really. So we have, like I was saying, Titanium, which is a private club. It was the first of its kind in the world. We have what we call our standard membership, which is $29.99, a month. It's unlimited. So when I mean unlimited, you can come every day. It does not matter. You can stay 2 hours, you can stay half an hour, you can stay 4 hours. It doesn't. That's part of the membership. You get 10% off on all your ammo. You get discounts on all your classes, gunsmithing. You get guest passes. The guest passes basically will allow, as an example, if Chris was a member and he wanted to bring his friends, 2 of his friends, they're going to shoot on his lane for free. Usually we give away, when we do specials like this, we give away a dozen, so it's 2 passes to 6. What's interesting about that is even after you use those, you can go ahead and buy an additional $30. So keep in mind, almost every range now is $20 to use the range as a non-member. Everybody usually uses our format, is what we found. So all this stuff, these places like C2 and Shooters World, when they opened, because we were already established, they took what we did, and they ran with it. So that's what we are, is about $20 at this point. So someone shot twice a month, they already paid more than they should for a membership. For us, it's you can pay like I said, the additional guest passes are awesome because rather than somebody come with you pay $20, it's essentially $5 because you bought a pass for 6 and extra pass for 6, so you can always bring your wife, your friends, your buddies, whoever getting members. We have something called red, white, this, like I was saying to you guys earlier, it's for the military, law enforcement, first responder families, both retired and current. We do it on the honor system. So when someone lets us know that they served for this country, we go ahead and set that up. It's no initiation, $25 flat for the month. Say all the same benefits that the original one had. And then we do a family membership. Family memberships, it can benefit a lot of people, a lot of people it doesn't. Family memberships are designed to have, up to couple and up to 2 children under the age of 18, so 17 and under. They basically, the kids are shooting free. They're coming on their own, but they have to come with parents because until you're 18, you have to be with your guardian or parent, legal guardian. So after 18, at that point, you can go get your own membership when you come on your own accord. So the family membership doesn't really have too much of a benefit in that method.
Any discounts for groups like us?
Well, that's up to you guys, and I mean that in this way. I was already prepared to come here, so let's put it like this. I want you guys all to come shoot. So where I left on here is gift card, is a free. There's a stack of them. Guys, take a couple of them, okay? They're free range and handgun. So basically, you don't have to pay anything other than ammo if you come. Okay? My cards are here. So typically, what I would do with a group like this, we have something that we used to do when we first opened the club in 2014 or 2004, called charter members. So charter members basically were $20. So that's it, $20 initiation. You pay for the year, you get a month free. So in reality, it's $220 for the year, and you guys shoot what you want. I do have a bunch of groups that are similar to this. And what I mean by that is they shoot, in a fashion that's pretty, pretty squared away. So let's say a Tuesday becomes the day, we won't want to meet, have breakfast, go shoot, so we make reservations accordingly to that. So if I have a group like in this case, you say, we got 20 guys who wants to come shoot, cool. And we'll get a bait, we'll get an entire bait squared away. You guys go in, do your thing, have a good time. And we have a group that one comes to mind, it's Camp Verde, nonetheless. And they're all snowbirds. They all roll into town. So I see them from the moment that it starts to get cool here in October 1st to the moment that, it gets a little bit warm in May 1st, and the foot has to go off the door back to wherever they're at. And, but yeah, that group comes in, and the Tuesday is why I brought that up. Tuesday, they come in at 10:15 and stay till 11:15. The worst shot has to buy Dunkin' Donuts, and unfortunately, it's the same guy every
time. Questions from guys? Anybody?
You also offer FFL services as well.
We do. We do. So many things that make sense for bringing it up. We do FFL transfers, yes. So members get discounts on all their FFL transfers as well. The titanium guys that we have in that back area, they don't pay for that stuff. So a lot of those services that you see, that's part of titanium. So they basically don't have to pay any transfer fees, they get their guns cleaned for free, all those type of things. So what else? I mean, obviously gunsmithing, I said it, but we can talk about it. We have 2 gunsmiths, both of them are fantastic. They do everything from cleanings to, trigger jobs, barrel jobs. They'll put together a gun from scratch, start to finish. We do a lot of that at the club. We actually have a class that we do. We do a company called Psionics, who's a great AR company. We do a builder's course. Come out and learn how to build their own rifle, learn the parts, learn why. I have gunsmiths. We do a lot of free classes too. It's called seminars. So most gunsmiths, if you guys have ever met, a lot of gunsmiths, they're usually older gentlemen who are very grouchy. When I first came to Arizona, my very first remembrance, I was probably about 11 years old. Those of you who've been out here, a long time might remember a place called Mandel's. Anybody remember Mandel's? Mandel's was out in the Scottsdale area. It basically was a range made out of CBC, New York City kind of tunnel pipes with dirty teddy bears hanging out as targets. It was one of the weirdest places. And I remember going in. My dad was, New York was one of the last places to switch to Glocks. So my dad was still rocking a 5-shot Colt Defender, as a detective. We went in, check it out. And he was, hey, tell me about this Glock. The gunsmith was out there. He said, you don't know about a Glock, boy? He started going off on a tangent. And I was like, man, where am I right now? So we're lucky in that regard. Both our guys are awesome. They love coming out and talk to customers. They love doing the seminars where even as simple as cleaning seminars, so we basically have people come in, we'll go over their platforms, whether it's 1911s, by the way, I'm a 1911 nerd, 1911s, striker fire guns, rifles, we'll kind of break them down, go over how to clean them, how to get them disassembled. So we do stuff like that. We also do another cool one where we do spotting. So it's kind of hard indoors, but we'll kind of go over, if you're going to shoot outdoors, how to shoot and what kind of scenarios. We do a long distance class too, that's outside of the pub. So the instructor does that indoors. Then he goes outside and teaches someone windage, elevation, long distance, do it at an outdoor range like a Cowtown or an Avery or Rio Salado.
So did you say you have a couple of ranges? You mentioned Tano National Forest.
Well, the one in Tano it's not a range. So what it is the owner of our club owns a ranch. And we started to actually that's the whole business development. We kind of go outwards now. So the ranch is something that we do outdoors, more for like DMC groups and stuff that are having corporate groups come in. Someone wants to do the true cowboy experience, and we'll go horseback ride, chuck wagon dinner. We'll go shoot out there, that type of thing. Hopefully that leads to some other stuff. Like I said, we've been venturing out and partnering with some of these places like a Cowtown and stuff to do some outdoor activities, which, we always kind of did, but we didn't do a lot of. It's kind of hard in the summertime because summertime, I'll be the first to say I'm not going out 115 to shoot in the desert, but I'm just not. It's just not happening. The New York in me has not left the building. But in 85 degrees in October, you don't have to twist my arm too much. I'll get outside and do a little bit of shooting, even though it keeps getting narrower and narrower, and the places that we can go, unfortunately, there's still some places to go, and you can have a lot of fun out there. So we sell stuff like, people come in like, why do you have tannerite? Who doesn't want to blow a car up? I want to blow a car up. So, this tannerite, you get a college, remember the old college-sized refrigerators, you take them out to the desert, you implode them, have a great time, clean up, make sure we do the right responsible thing, bring them back, drop them off, and go again. So we do some stuff like that as well.
Okay. Go ahead.
The used gun buyback days,
We just had one Saturday.
I know, can you explain that? They're getting some emails on.
So used gun day, what we've noticed is a lot of people, well, I guess I'll go backwards. I'm guilty, okay? Every time I go home and I open I have two safes. I open one of my safes, there's 3 handguns that I see. And I never shoot them. Why I bought them, I couldn't tell you. I did everything that I tell everyone never to do. One, I know I bought because it was tan, okay? One, I know it was 40 cal, and at the time I didn't have 40 cal, so I thought I needed it. And then another was, I thought it was a great deal. So I bought a gun and it didn't really fit my hand the way I wanted it to. When we teach people, when we get new shooters and we talk to somebody, one of the first things we tell them, if it's comfortable for you, you'll be successful. If it's not comfortable for you, you're gonna have to will yourself to like it. Most people are not gonna will themselves to do that. They're gonna go back to what they find is comfortable. It's a lot like shoes, because I've been in that business for a long time too, where when you find something that fits your hand and the mold of that, fits your foot and mold of that foot, you stick with it. Why? Because it's comfortable. It's everyday good, everyday comfort. So we get a lot of people who have those type of guns. They have a bunch of stuff that, we just don't want to get rid of it. Whether it's, I want to put it towards, whether I just want to get cash or I want to put it towards something else that I've been wanting. So we have done that. We've always done that. It got to the point, especially with the craze that happened, so many people bought out of hysteria as well. So they bought stuff they didn't need. And so we'll go ahead and trade it out, buy it out, whatever somebody wants. And it's pretty interesting. Like I actually did it for the first time in a long time. I went into the safe and 2 of those 3 guns, I made them disappear for something else that I wanted. I added the money and bought another 1911. Like I probably needed that. I'm up to about 9 of them, so I probably didn't need it, but I wanted it. So let's just put it like that. So I took things that I wasn't going to use and I made it into something I wanted.
So you sell those through the retail store then once?
Yeah, so how that happens is basically it has to go through a 10-day form period. So it doesn't really matter what the city is, Scottsdale, every city in Arizona is the same format. So it'll go through a form department. So it's 10 days. So say someone brought me a Glock 19, right? One of the most sold guns on the planet Earth. Normally it's about $550 currently for Gen 519. So normally you can say used, it'll normally sell for about maybe $375, $399 now, because the market's still a little bit elevated. Usually we'll offer someone $275, $299 as an example. We'll throw a coupon, which only costs us $10 per gun. Once again, we cut somebody the check, it waits 10 days. Once it's done with the 10-day pawn, it can be eligible for sale again. So now if Chris came in to buy it at that point, we would paperwork it to him, $44.73, just like we would any standardized brand new gun someone bought. So, the customer gets a good value because they're buying something that obviously we clean it first, make sure it's operational. But, they can get something at let's say $150 less than the new price. The condition plays a lot, obviously, in everything. So does collectability, because we do have a huge collector market for us at the club with stuff like Colt Pythons and that whole snake family, or certain older vintage shotguns or vintage, hunting guns, even we're a hunting store. We get a lot of people who bring stuff in that's of that vintage variety, right? Or that collectible variety, Winchester's, Rems, those things. 1911 World, same thing.
If we wanted to just to come on down, do we need to reserve lanes, or are there certain days that are better? No, as a non-member.
Well, perfectly, you said that anyway. As a member, you can make reservations. Non-members cannot. They're walk-in only. Okay. The only time we deviate from that is when we do corporate events. That's because we have to assign people to the groups. Because they usually shoot machine guns too. So. But as non-members, you guys can walk down at any time. It's hard to get lanes sometimes. It's depending on the day. It's like any indoor range, especially in the summer times. Being that it's so hot out, you're probably going to walk in and you might experience a little bit of wait time. It's 1 or 2 people, typically not probably. If it was 10, 15, 20 people, yeah, you're probably going to have to figure that out ahead of time, and there's really no, you would think Saturday and Sunday, obviously Friday, Saturday, Sunday, more people are off, it's elevated traffic, but that's not necessarily a rhyme or reason, because sometimes it's just busy for no reason on a Tuesday morning at 11 o'clock, or it could be dead at Friday at 5 o'clock. It's just the gun world is somewhat unpredictable at times. So kind of go by that. As members, you can make reservations. In this case, what I'd like you guys to do is make an outing of it. Nobody has to sign up yet for a membership for me. Come out. I want you to shoot for free. Let's make Larry can reach out to me and tell me a date that works for the group. Come out. I'll give everybody a tour. Do some shooting. You guys can bring your own ammo if you want, as long as it's not tracer or steel core. That's all we ask. You guys can use my rentals if you want. You want to try some different stuff, obviously bring your own guns. There's definitely not a lack of stuff that we have to try, that's for sure. When you go into our rentals, which is crazy, is we have Nighthawks in there, and we have standard defense rifles and stuff that people usually hide from the public because it's higher priced. We make them, that's one of our biggest contentions when we go to the retail, because we sell so much. We want the rental gun. So I'll go to Nighthawk and say, okay, we're your largest dealer in Wilson too. Largest dealer in the country. Okay, I need 2 of these guns. And they go into the rentals. People are going to try it. Because I wouldn't spend $4,000 on something if I couldn't try it. And that's the mental structure that we kind of follow. So we try to get as many of the guns that we carry, a good representation of everything, whether it's a Ruger up to a Macmillan, and put it out in the rentals and let people have at it. Because that's the best way to prove somebody's point. If you shot a gun that's had 40,000 rounds to it and it still shoots well, man, it was a good gun when it was brand new in the box, especially with the amount of people that are different types of shooters, shooting at it, so, and they all get cleaned weekly, obviously, and everything, but still, you want to have a good testament to what you're selling. So.
Air rifles too?
We don't do air rifles. The only reason we don't do air rifles is because of the trap we use. For basically what happens is the pellets are so small in a lot of those cases, same thing BB guns or anybody shooting airsoft, that stuff gets into the chains that we use in the decel, so it'll clog it up, which is why we only shoot. Now that brings up another thing. Today actually we put in the simulators, so when I leave here and I go back to work, we just bought a simulator. It's called Milo Range. So we'll have about 3 or 4 lanes that are set up to shoot using, they are using airsoft guns, but it's not actual rounds. It's basically they're correlated with the program. So basically it has actual recoil to them, so you can train without actually using ammo. So a lot of it will be based on classes, and the instructors also using it with people fix the different issues they may have as far as like, maybe the shooting far left, far right, brand new shooters. Someone who's trying to, had an injury and is relearning to shoot a little bit. So we'll be switching up to some of that stuff too. So that'll be a new venture for us. We've always fought against that because we believe, our owners always believe, gonna, buy firearms, then you need to shoot firearms. You need to shoot the actual gun, because if you're not shooting your firearm, you can do all the training in the world, but it can't necessarily simulate what it is to shoot an actual, handgun or rifle. And that was always his thing. Plus, we watched a lot of places in Vegas do stuff where, people have the zombies and these guys are, they're shooting, whether it's virtual firearms or not, they're shooting each other at some point. Obviously for us, safety is everything. We don't want to make a mockery of anything that we do. While we enjoy having a lot of fun, and I will be the first to tell people we are kind of clowns outside of the safety element. Part of who doesn't want to work in the gun world? Man, I couldn't think of anything better that I should be doing right now. So we have a lot of fun and we enjoy doing what we do. So we're always in good spirits. We always have a lot of fun and a lot of jokes, but safety is always first and foremost, and it's customer service. So.
Is the ammo place next door any relation to you guys?
No, and what's funny is they've been, they're a new one. So prior to them, it used to be called Special Forces Outdoors, and I forget what the one before that was, but so for about 10 years, it's a business model of Home Depot and Lowe's, Burger King and McDonald's. So whoever goes in first, right, you already have automatic traffic. So someone comes in and says, hey, I want to piggyback off that. And that's what the original person who put a gun shop next door to us did. They didn't sell mostly a lot of what we sold, but it allowed them to have that traffic base, right, without having to really fight for it or spend for it. Someone just kind of wanders in to see what you got. And that's currently what's going on now. It's a guy who has 2 hunting shops out in Portland, Oregon. And he basically wanted to retire in Arizona. So kind of leased the place next door. They do fine. It doesn't really affect us very much. So it's actually a good thing sometimes. But price-wise, I think we get a stigmatism being in Scottsdale that we're a higher price. Most people come and they realize we're not. We price shop a lot, price match. If anybody is a brick and mortar and they're higher than us, we lower the price by $1. But our two buyers do a good job of kind of scanning the area, seeing where people's pricing structures are at, seeing where they're at. We want to be, being bigger is good because it usually means we get a better deal in some regards. And getting that better deal means we should pass it along to the people that we're selling to.
Suppressors, you still have a big selection.
Yeah, and it keeps growing too. Hopefully one day we'll get to that point where suppressors, the hearing protection law will pass. We'll also get to that point where, we won't have to be a $200 tax stamp, but we sell tons of them. I would say we have probably about 25 different cans in the store right now, probably, give or take.
Gunsmiths work on revolvers and parts.
Yep.
Older ones like Smith and Wesson.
So we also, and I should say this because of who I am, but maybe not because it's Scottsdale Gun Club. So if we can't do a job, I'm lucky enough that I have some interesting friends, like Ted Yost is one of the best gunsmiths on planet Earth. He's been a friend of mine a long time, and Nelson Ford. These guys are notorious for 1911s and Revos. So if, let's say, my two can't fix something because it's out of their realm of reason, we'll actually outsource it to somebody. I'll be the first to call Ted and say, hey, got a customer that's got this particular gun, it's out of timing or whatever the case may be. Can you take a look at this for us, and have the guy go out there and meet up with them. Usually you'll be at the back of the line with those guys until like eternity. But they do well with us too, because they're members and they're in all the time, and we try to partner with them as best we can. So, but yeah, our two gunsmiths do a lot of Smith stuff, Ruger, Colts. So yeah, more than likely, my guess is depending on the model you have, this should be an issue or something. Model 19, yeah, they work on that for sure.
You talked a little bit about how ammo's going down. Could you give us an idea of what the pricing is now?
Well, we're getting to a point now where 9 mil will be back to about $22, I think, $21 now in the next, I'd say 2-3 weeks. It was up to at one point, like we were talking about in the 40s. And buying the ammo, it was, I'll be the first to admit, when everything was crazy, I was a little torn because having a range means you have a lot of members, and having a lot of members means you want to have ammo to supply them and be able to shoot. But we felt pretty crazy about when we were going out and paying $550, $600 for a case of 9, when we used to pay about $160 for it. And then having to retail that, you know, even now we were selling it at 38, 39, $40, people coming in. And, you know, it's a rough conversation to have with them, explaining to them, you know, what, you know, and most of the good shooters that shoot a lot, they were going online as well and seeing stuff at $800, $900, $1,000 and going, man, I get it, you know, but we don't want to be that person. We never wanted to be that person. It almost got to a point after a little while where we didn't buy as much ammo as we needed to. We basically had opportunities because our natural supply chains were still giving ammo, but what happened is instead of us getting, as an example, 800 cases a month for MagTech and S&D, which are actually the same company, we would get like 200 cases. Well, 200 cases is not going to cut it in the gun world. And so we were supplementally buying, but we were trying to buy to the best of our ability, where people were trying to, you know, we didn't want to buy to say, okay, we know you need ammo, but we're going to charge you for $45 a box. We were trying our hardest to not avoid doing that. It's something you can't come back for. Like when Sandy Hook happened, I was at the club. I watched a lot of these smaller shops at different things, price gougers. I watched them just double pricing. They were selling guys Bushmaster ARs for like $1,800, $1,900. Well, what happens when the craze ends? People don't go back to that place. They know that they've been duped. They know they've been taken advantage of, and that's not our way. We don't want any of that. So I'm glad that it's getting down. You know, I'd say the next 2 weeks, I know for a fact because I watched what we paid for something recently. It should come back in at about $21.99. I don't think it'll ever go back to the days of $200 cases. I think, unfortunately, the world of firearms realized people would pay a larger amount. So I unfortunately think, from an economic standpoint, that these manufacturers will probably come in, park around $300 for a case of 9, maybe get Dole at $275. But those days of seeing them for about $200, $225 are probably gone, unfortunately. It's a little like gas, right? So, but other calibers, the prices didn't necessarily go crazy. It's that everybody was using the materials to make 9 and 5.56, which caused every other caliber like 45. I mean, for a while, we didn't have 38 special for like 5 months. It was the craziest thing I'd ever seen. Nobody was making it. So they were just putting their stuff, you know, 357 was barely coming in. 22 was just an afterthought again. People were just, you know, putting all their money into 9 and those defense rounds. So now it's starting to smooth out. You're starting to see, you know, stuff come back in, and I give it another, well, 9 mil, they say won't catch up. They were, so this is 5 months ago. They were $40 billion behind across the world in sales. So most companies, if you listen to them, they believe until 2012 or 2022, it won't catch back up. But it'll inch close. Same thing with locks. Locks are so backed up from being pretty much the standard bearer for most police departments and stuff, and also militaries, that a lot of the guns they make, you know, they're probably taking another 6 months for them to finally catch up.
So any recommendations on getting ammo locally?
So I would, more than anything else, ammo can be shipped to your house, unlike firearms. Okay. I don't know of anybody, honestly, who sells cheaper than us for the most part, a lot. But I do know if you go on websites like Cheaper Than Dirt is a good one for ammo, at least.
That's the name of this website?
Yeah, if anybody's ever been there. They're usually a pretty decent site to gauge what someone's charging. Okay. Obviously, Gun Broker, kind of the eBay of the gun world, right? But you know, ordering ammo until it gets, I would say, into that zone. Like I think right now we're at 25, but we get a little bit cheaper.
Cheaper than dirt, I think it's about $1,000 around.
They were. I think they've come down. I don't think they're crazy, because if anybody's still charging $1,000 for 9 mil, they should be shot.
They're not really cheap as dirt.
No, but going on those sites, like I was taking a spin on Gun Broker, I think the other day, I was pricing a gun for a client. I think I saw Federal 9, somebody was selling Federal 9 now it's like $28 a box, which not bad. I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, if I wanted not 9 mil, I might buy 4 or 5 boxes, have it shipped straight to my house. You know, guys probably all love Amazon. I don't like to leave my house anymore. In some regards, especially with all my kids. You need it, Amazon has it.
Other questions for Walt? If not, let's thank Walt Abrams for a nice presentation and for coming out here. Appreciate that.
So, like I said, if anybody has questions, please do me a favor, take a card, even if it's something that you may have that you want.